All right. All right. Shalom. Shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rekakodash. Giving double honors to the apostles and elders of the great millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect. Shalom to all the brothers out here laboring in this truth with sincerity. Shalom to the few sisters that watch. Just coming back with another lesson. Actually, just, about 15 minutes ago, was just kind of thinking of something to go into, and the spirit hit me, to bring out, the fear of the Lord, you know and why. Our people don't fear the Lord, man. We see clear examples of this, whether it be teachers within Israel, or the people of the world, man. Is no fear of the Lord, because if you fear the Lord, you would do exactly, what He says to the best of your ability, and that means teaching the correct doctrine, not scattering the sheep, not straying away from what you were taught. And the people of the world, man, they're just lost. They have no clue. They're just unbelievers, so they don't even know who to fear or why to fear. But they don't understand, man. Our Lord is a very terrible power. He does things to people, as far as bringing judgment upon people, man, that's just, brutal, you know. Um, Hey, you can just browse the internet and see so many people getting judged, but they don't understand that this judgment is coming from the Lord, you know. But that's enough rambling. Let's get into the lesson. But the reason why, I wanted to go into the fear of the Lord, the Spirit just led me to Google, or Salaki, not Google, but ChatGPT. What does GMS say about Jacob's trouble? And we're gonna get into that. I was just Spirit was just giving me, scriptures on, Jacob's trouble. You got Daniel 12:1. That's going into Jacob's trouble. But the main one is Jeremiah 30:7. And that's the one that ChatGPT brought up, but I was going to get that anyway. But let's go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 1. It's a lock you for the rambling. Chapter 1. Because this is what's missing, This is missing throughout the earth. Not just within Israel, but it's missing throughout the earth. Especially with these other nations. Mainly Esau, Edom. But they don't know the Lord anyway. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 1:7. It says, the fear of the Lord Yahweh is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. And that's what's being brought forth. I think we can, matter of fact, we can go on down into this chapter, and it lets you know where the wisdom comes from. Wisdom crieth without. She uttereth her voice in the streets. She cried in the chief places of concourse. In the opening of the gates in the city, she uttereth her words, saying, how long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity, and scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge? And this is a question that's being posed, man. But the point of this is that the truth is coming from the men that's out there on the streets, on the highways and hedges, in the chief places of concourse, preaching the true gospel of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, the man of GMS. This is where the truth is being brought forth, with no deception, just like, Method Man said, man, when you give it to me raw, man, because when you drink absolute straight, it burns. And his word burns, man. Matter of fact, man, I think it's Jeremiah chapter 5 and verse 14. Lord willing, that's it. Con. This is the book of Jeremiah chapter 5 and verse 14. It says, "Wherefore thus saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, power of hosts, because ye speak this word, behold, I will make my words in thy mouth fire, and this people wood, and it shall devour them." So this word is like fire, when we bring it out. It's straight, raw, and uncut. No chaser, man. That's why it's so hard to stomach for these people. But the thing about it is they don't fear the Lord. They have no faith. They're unbelievers. So, ultimately, they're going to be punished. But this is why this word is strictly for the elect. Strictly for the elect. And the Lord is going into a clear description of the destruction here. But we want to jump to verse 2. It says, "But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arrive with healing in his wings." It is speaking of our Lord Yahweh Shai. And yes, he was spoken of in the Old Testament, to all you Christians out there that don't understand. But it says, "But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness, our Lord Yahweh Shai, arise with healing in his wings. And ye shall go forth and grow up as calves in the stall." You're going to be protected, man. Away from all the, 144 call law Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. 414. So, this word is strictly for the elect, man. Strictly for the elect. But like I say, you have these people, these false teachers out here going off, as well as the 2/3 of the world, man. They don't understand. They don't fear the Lord. They do what's pleasing to the flesh. And most of the time, Jake is really trying to mask the pain that they suffer, that they have to endure. So they go and to the flesh, man. They resort to pleasing the flesh instead of trying to please the Lord, which all your problems will be answered if you serve the Lord. Of course we're going to struggle. Of course we're going to have problems, issues. But ultimately, man, the only person that can save you in your life, salvation, being saved from impeding the destruction, is the Lord. Our Lord Yahweh Shai, man. So this is 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 1. It says, "This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come." And let's go into this word perilous. See exactly, what it means. So it says, hard to do, to take, to approach, hard to bear, troublesome, dangerous, harsh, fierce, savage. And these are not, coddling words. These are troubling, disturbing words, man. If you're being troubled, in dangerous times, harsh conditions, fears, that's bringing anger, man. So all these conditions are going to be upon the earth. Perilous times are coming. Difficult, dangerous, furious, perilous. And, that's what's coming, man. That's what we're faced with. Matter of fact, let's go on and get it. This book of Jeremiah, chapter 30, and verse 7. And then we'll jump to chat and see what chat has to say about the man of GMS starting from Apostle Hart on down, as it concerns Jacob's trouble. So this is the book of Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 7. It says, "Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it." The elect. This is speaking of. This is speaking of the elect. The 144,000 men that were chosen from the beginning of the earth. Let's see. All right, so let's just what does GMS say about Jacob's trouble? And Chat really does great studying on GMS. Now, where this information come from, who inputs this information, I don't know. Maybe I need to ask Chat. I ask Chat once I get off. Because, this pretty much to the T, man. It says GMS Great Millstone, which are, the apostles and elders, starting with Apostle Tahar, all the way down, man. So it says teaches that Jacob's trouble, Jeremiah 30 and 7, which we just read, is a future global time of extreme suffering, especially for the Israelites, you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as you scattered Israelites that look like the other nations. It says especially the so-called 2/3. Matter of fact, let's just get that too. We gonna let's see. Oh man, come on. Yep. So this is the book of Zechariah chapter 13 verse 8. It says, "And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord Yahweh, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein." 2/3 that ChatGPT just mentioned. This is what this is going into. It says, "I will bring the third part through the fire, the elect, and refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord Yahweh is my power." And earlier it says, "Them that fear my name," in the book of Malachi chapter 4, verse 2. So you have to know the name. That the name is important, and the name is Yahweh. It says just before Yahweh Shai, and then they put, which we don't speak of Jesus Christ, but it's letting all the other people, probably the Edomites that want to inquire, so-called Christians, who's being spoken of. Yahweh Shai is the Son of the Most High. It says before Yahweh Shai returns. It says here is their teaching broken down clearly. So let's see how accurate they are. It says Jacob equals the Israelites, not all humanity, which is true. GMS teaches that Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are the biblical Israelites. But, you still got your scattered, man. So they kind of go off on that. But primarily, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans is, the bulk, especially here in Babylon the Great. It says, therefore, Jacob's trouble is not for the whole world, but primarily Israel. It says, alas, for that day is great, which we just read, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble. Just give a brief quote here. It says, what Jacob's trouble is. It says GMS teaches it is a time of chaos, persecution, famine, war, and martial law. Matter of fact, I ain't gonna get it, but Second Ezra 15 is that all that, everything that the time of chaos, persecution, famine, war, martial law is written in the book of Second Ezra chapter 15. It says worse than slavery, the Holocaust, or any past suffering. Yeah, the world has never seen anything like what's coming. It says a purging judgment from Yahweh. Yes, sir. The Most High, God. And they put it in little g, disrespect. But it says then often connected to World War III, yep. Economic collapse, yes. Food shortages, yes. Civil unrest, government crackdowns, persecution of the Israelites, and chat is missing the MOTB, the mark of the beast, the RFID microchip. So we got a few questions. Matter of fact, let me make a couple notes going into scattering. I'm gonna ask about the scattering after get off, and the MOTB. Because this information is coming from somewhere, but a lot of people gonna be relying on this information, so it need to be clarified. We believe in the scattered Israelites around the world, the four corners of the earth. That's gonna look like other nations, but contained within that body is the spirit of an Israelite. So it says, the third point, it says the 2/3 versus the 1/3, which we just read. I didn't even know they were going to bring that out, but we just read that. But, okay, it says 2/3 are going to die, during Jacob's trouble. It says 1/3, the elect, like I said, which we already knew, will be refined, protected, and delivered. Yeah, that's salvation, man. Let's see. It says the suffering is seen as necessary purification because Israel rebelled against the covenant. For the most part, they on point. But point 4 says the role of Esau, America, Babylon the Great, man. If somebody want to know exactly what GMS teaches, man, like Apostle Hall say, man, just go to chat. If you got any question, because this is pretty much on point, man. It says Esau, Edom, the modern white power structures. Yeah, so-called white. America, yeah, modern Babylon. Jacob's trouble happens as America collapses. Israelites will be blamed, targeted, and oppressed again. Yes. This is why GMS often warns Israelites to detach from America, not physically leaving, mentally, spiritually. Prepare mentally and spiritually, not trusting the system. Yeah, let's see. Matter of fact, man, hey, the scriptures got all the answers, man. Come on with it, man. Let's see. We'll go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 31. Matter of fact, is in chapter 30 and 31. But it says, the book of Isaiah, chapter 31 and 1, it says, woe to them that go down to Egypt for help. We know we're in modern day Egypt as well, the house of bondage. It says, and stay on horses and trust in chariots because they are many, and in the horsemen because they are very strong. Babylon the Great looks strong, but actually is fragile. It says, but they look not into the Holy One of Israel, neither seek the Lord Yahweh, man. Yep. Not trusting the system. Let's see. Point 5, it says the elect will be protected. While the time is horrific, GMS teaches the elect are sealed. Revelation chapter 7. Angels will guide, protect, deliver them. some may suffer, but they will not be destroyed. And it's got Isaiah 65:13. It says, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Man, hey, ChatGPT, man, hey, that's GMS mascot. And, I'm just joking, man. I have absolutely no authority or say so within GMS. I'm just a humble servant, man. Let's see, what was I going? Revelation chapter 7. Yep. 144,000, and it goes into it, 12,000 from each tribe. You got 12 tribes. And it goes into it all the way down, So saying that other nations can be saved is really asinine, Just go to Revelation 7, man. Clear all that up. I keep saying verse, but point 6 says how it ends. It says, according to GMS, Yahushua returns during Jacob's trouble. The wicked are destroyed. Israel is delivered. The kingdom of Yahweh Shem Yahushua is established on earth. Yeah, New Jerusalem says Israel is placed above the nations. Yeah. This is the kingdom of Yahweh Shem Yahushua is established on earth. This is not, that takes place after the total destruction of Babylon the Great. So it won't be no Jacob's trouble. When the kingdom is established, it's going to be all out flames and, fire. Let's see the summary. We'll just get whatever it says. It says summary, and it's about ended. It says summary. GMS's view, Jacob's trouble, final judgment of Israel, which that's, World War III is going to be the final judgment, when the Lord brings those missiles, as well as the chariots. That's the final judgment. It says it is severe, unavoidable, and imminent. It purges Israel and destroys Babylon, America. I don't know why they're saying Jacob's trouble, but it says it. Only the elect remnant survives this destruction. It says it leads directly to Israel's salvation and rulership. It says if you want, I can also, we don't need to do that, for the sake of this lesson, we don't need that. I just go into later on or something, asking about the scattering, scattered Israelites throughout the earth, But, for the most part, that was pretty much the lesson. We just went through the spirit, actually. But, Lord willing, it was edifying. We want to constantly give our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushai, by Hashem, Rakakwadash. Shalom.